Alright, welcome to today's lesson on management challenges where we're going to focus on how to deal with stress and conflict in the workplace. So as we know, stress is a major part of both our work and personal lives. And in fact, stress in one area can often bleed into the other areas of our lives. So for example, if we have a stressful day at work, we can sometimes carry that home with us and have stress at home and vice versa. Now, it's important to note that some stress is not necessarily bad stress. Many types of stress can be very good for us and healthy for us because it provides us with the energy and motivation to meet the challenges that are set out before us. So we call this constructive stress. This is the stress that builds as we put something off, right? We're waiting and waiting, and the more that we wait, the more that we procrastinate, the more we feel stressed because it needs to get done. And finally, there's enough stress there that it motivates us to get cracking and start completing that task. And without stress, there was most of us that would not accomplish very much things in our day-to-day life because we're not really stressed to do it. We have no pressure. There's no need for us to get it done. However, if we let that stress build up too much, it becomes too demanding and we have destructive or bad stress. And now we're overwhelmed, now we're very negative, and it becomes very bad for us. Okay? This type of stress often leaves us feeling exhausted, frustrated, instead of being satisfied with the job well done because we got it done in the time we needed to. And in fact, as much as we have technology today that is supposed to make things easier for us, right? We've got the internet and our cell phones and we're connected all the time. Is this technology, there's many research out there saying that this technology is actually making things more stressful for us because the first thing we do in the morning is we check our social status, we check our emails. The last thing we do before we go to bed is check our emails. We feel like we're always available, accessible, and always on the go. Things need to get done faster, 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 and as a result, we have more stress. So how do we deal with that? Well, as a manager, we want to make sure that our employees are developing a positive work-life ratio, as we've talked about before. And they need to, as part of that, figure out how they're going to manage their stress to keep it in the positive type, the productive type. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can encourage your employees to laugh, organize, and set priorities for the things they need to get done. Things like developing a positive attitude goes a long way. Eating nutritious food, calming music or meditation or yoga, all these kinds of things can help us reduce the levels of stress, disconnecting from all the things that are trying to stress us out. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is conflict management. Now, conflict is any type of disagreement we have between multiple people on either substantive issues, which are things that have substance, right? The rules that are in place, deadlines are in place, work that needs to get done, all those kinds of things. Or they are disagreements between emotional issues, so feelings of anger, betrayal, trust, jealousy, and so on. Conflict that is well managed, just like stress that is well managed, can help to promote creativity and high performance within an organization because we're working together to work these things out, and as a result, we both grow, we both become more productive, and things are good. But conflict that is not well managed can have the opposite effect, just like stress that is not looked after becomes very negative. So what types of conflict do we see? Well, there's two types, functional and dysfunctional. Functional conflict is that good, constructive type of conflict, right? We're working towards a greater effort. We're going to try and be cooperative. We're going to be creative, and we're going to make sure we get things done and work it out. This is generally moderately intense, so both people are engaged in that conflict, but it's not overwhelming. Dysfunctional conflict happens at the extremes. So you have somebody who's very highly intense, yelling and screaming and really upset, or somebody who's very low intensity, kind of, yeah, whatever, I don't care, right? Both of those are destructive and hurt task performance in the long run, as well as the amount of conflict we have. So too little conflict and too much conflict, if we're always in conflict or we're never in conflict at all, that's destructive. We're not growing, right? But if we have a moderate amount of conflict, we're growing. We're going to contribute to the organizational goals because we're trying to work through our problems and make things better, right? Conflict can arise when one person has a need for another that another one is not meeting, right? I've got a need that you are not meeting right now, and so we've got to figure out how to get that done. It can result from role ambiguity. So we're not sure who's responsible for something, or I thought I was responsible for that, but you're doing it, right? Resource scarcity. We don't have enough stuff to go around, so there's conflict over making sure we all have enough stuff to get our jobs done. Task interdependence. So one person or group waiting for another person or group to finish their tasks before that first group can even start, right? Competing objectives where we're both working, but we both have to get different things done, and they're actually competing with each other. And sometimes even unresolved prior conflict can lead to conflict in itself. If I already have negative feelings towards somebody and now I have to work with them, that can start to develop and make it even worse and bigger. So how do we deal with that as a management style? How can we manage conflict to make sure that it's positive? Well, there's 5 general ways we can manage conflict, and each one of them actually has its place and time as to when it's more effective. There's avoidance, accommodative, competition, compromise, and collaboration. So avoiding. In this case, there are no winners, no losers, because I'm just avoiding it. I'm not going to deal with the conflict that's happening. I'm going to come back to it at a later time. Okay? We want to do this because sometimes the conflict is small, relationships are at stake, and I want to say, yeah, we're going to ignore it, and it'll probably go away on its own. Right? Sometimes people are too intense, and so we need to sort of avoid it, and we'll come back to it later when the emotions have cooled down. Or if I have more important issues to deal with, I put it aside and come back to it later. The drawbacks are that the decisions that are being made here that dealing with that conflict can be put off, and postponing it can sometimes make matters worse as things start to fester. The second way of dealing with conflict is through competing, or the I win, you lose model, right? We're trying to have one side is going to win the conflict, the other side is going to lose the conflict. We want to use this when the goals are extremely important, more important than the relationships that are involved. Someone who's the manager may need to use their power to win. It's got to be this way because this is what's going to make the company money, and if we do it your way, we're going to lose money and we're going to go out of business. Sorry, but I win, you lose, right? If you know you're right or time is short and we got to have a quick decision, I don't have time to convince you of it. It's just this is the way it's got to be, right? Sometimes it's just a strong personality that's trying to steamroll you and trying to take advantage of you. Not necessarily a good thing, but it's often a style that's used in that case. And if you're standing up for your rights, sorry, that's not right. It's not the way it's going to be. It's just not ethically correct, right? Although it's nice to win, competing can sometimes easily escalate conflict, making that resentment be there, right? So it festers and becomes a bigger issue later on. So, and it also comes with the risk that the loser might retaliate later on. So while you want to use this sometimes when it's very, very, very important, you got to be careful with the frequency with which you use it. In accommodating, we have the I lose, you win. This works on the premise that working towards a common purpose is more important than the issue at hand. So if I let you win, you're going to be happier, we're going to get to the common goal better, and my way, it doesn't really matter if we do it my way or not, right? If the issue is less important to me, I'm willing to let others learn by their mistakes. Okay, you go ahead and do that. You're going to mess up, but it's not really going to mess up the whole company as a whole, and then you'll learn from the mistake and you'll do it better, and you won't resent me for that, right? Sometimes it's not the right time, so I'm just going to let you do this because I'm going to come back to this later where I'm going to have a situation where I'm the one who's going to need to win. We're going to have a competitive situation, so we want to balance these out, right? The drawbacks of accommodating include that one's own ideas don't get attention. So my ideas aren't going to get attention. My credibility, my influence is not going to happen, right? Because I'm letting you take the lead. I'm letting you do it. You're going to get the winning situation there, right? Compromising, right? We're both going to try and meet in the middle, okay? So winning some while losing something else is okay, right? We both get something good, but we both don't quite get what we wanted before. Sometimes this is best used when people of equal status are equally committed. They both want to get what they want, and they're both at the same level, so we sort of both bend, right? Sometimes this is a time-saving measure. If we both compromise, we'll get a good solution. It may not be the best in either way. We have some trade-offs, but overall it's going to be for the better, right? Unfortunately, the process of compromising takes a lot of time and energy, trying to find that middle ground. And sometimes can lead to one side taking advantage because you have to show all your cards. You got to say, these are all the things I need. Okay, these are all the things I need, and then we can find the spot in the middle. And by sometimes showing all the things that you need, you can get taken advantage of because, well, now I know you need that. I know how much important that is to you, right? And number 5, we have collaboration. This is the ideal way to do it. I win, you win, everybody wins, yay, right? But it's not always feasible to do this, right? If you can, and you have the time and the effort to be able to do this, we can all take ownership of our ideas, and we can all make sure we are collaborating and working together to try and get to this solution that we all like, okay? It only works when we have a high level of trust between everybody, and it also works if not one single person wants to have the responsibility if things go wrong, right? We're all going to share responsibility in it. We're all going to take ownership of this task together and win or lose together, okay? It allows us to work through animosity and hard feelings so we can come together as a true team. But it takes a lot longer to get this done, and sometimes our long-term objectives can get derailed because we're too busy focusing on the here and the now, right? So again, all those different options have their own time and place where they need to be used. That's it. That's all we have time for today. We'll see you in class tomorrow where we can practice what we've learned.